Hey everybody, welcome to the Soultivation Conversation. This is Eron Zehavi, and we are doing a very special series here called The Soul of Music. When we talk with magic makers that utilize music to create incredibly profound impact and positive change in the world. And my guest today, I'm so excited to have, and if you don't know him, when we're done, you will know why I'm so excited to start this conversation, is Luc Reynaud. Luc is the founder of a group called Luc and the Lovingtons. He is a musician, a producer, a humanitarian, and he founded something called the Goodness Tour. Now, we hear a lot about music tours, but this is a tour like none other. Because where most tours go into heavily populated places where they can bring in a lot of crowds, Luc brings his music and art into disaster zones, into impoverished areas, into homeless shelters, and anywhere else where there is a desperate need of some emotional and social positive support. And it's such an underserved area. So, all that said, there's a lot more to unpack. And I'm sure I probably missed some stuff out, but we'll uncover it. So, Luc, thank you for being here.
Hey, yes, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to talk and hang out with you.
I know, man. This is like this quarantine thing is in one way it we feel disconnected from people,
Yeah.
but it also creates these sort of other intentional reasons for us to reach out. Like us having this
Yeah.
conversation here. It would have been nice if we could have sat in person, but we might have just done that and caught up for hours and decided not to turn the cameras on and
Yeah.
to share the conversation. So there's some beauty about that, but maybe we can start with that
hmm
and to lead into to who you are and what you do. I want to know this is about connection, right? So for you, what is so important about music in terms of how it helps people to connect with themselves, with each other? What is the power of it? Why are you so called for music to be the service?
Yes. Um, on the why, gosh, I feel I was just totally led there to this calling being my calling. Happened in such mysterious ways where I never pictured myself being a musician. Like if you talk to my high school self, like high school Luke, I mean, I'd be like, what? I'd be like, wow, that's so cool. I mean, that would be something I'd always dream of, but I was a super sports jock all through high school. Um, Music was always there though. Music was that place where I felt some of my greatest highs and thrills. I was listening to music and I would sing kind of on my own with my family. I come from a musical family of singers and stuff. But my early on experiences, I just remember the way music spoke to me. And there was a glistening high like no other with these tracks and certain songs that I listened to. I remember in high school and when I was younger.
Do you
And
remember what were you listening to? What was 16-year-old Luke listening to that was sort of shaping your musical landscape?
okay, well, this is the funny thing. 16-year-old Luke, for the majority, well, that's when I started. Well, right at 16, I started branching, but even like 16, 14, all the way down, I was solid, maybe specifically on West Coast rap.
Oh,
And I loved Warren G and Snoop and all that. And what I learned later is they were sampling a lot of like the Isley Brothers and the Gap Band and a lot of this old soul and funk. And that's what was like rocking my world. Well, and also just the flow, the rhythmic flow. I mean, I love the whole thing.
Mhm.
Um,
I'll just share something. It's funny you bring that up. On a quick side note, don't want to get lost in a tangent. I
yeah,
just got a message this morning from a friend of mine who's pretty deep into astrology, who happened to share that a lot of our most acclaimed rappers are have Gemini signs. That there's something about this sort of energy or power. I don't know if astrology means anything to you, but I literally just read that like an hour ago, so it was interesting for you to bring that up. Maybe there's somebody else who's listening can unpack that a little bit more.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but anyway, so
yeah.
you're listening to this rap music. Now, I don't think you're
Yeah.
listening to it thinking I'm gonna grow up and be a rapper, right? What was
No.
it that connected with you about that?
Just the music and that bass and those guitars and the keys and that soul sound, and then I discovered like Sam Cooke and then Bob Marley but I discovered actually Bob Marley. I remember that was when I was maybe 10 and my mom had a Bob Marley tape, and that sounded like growing up in the mountains, like of Washington. It just sounded like music from the water, music from like the unknown water and jungles, and like it was just the power of it was undeniable. And yeah, I think I just started going, and then I started branching into, like, I remember I got Sade's best of Sade, and then Ben Harper, and then India Ari, and all of that, and Al Green, and uh, all of it. Just, it was just a spiritual place. It would be where I would feel that undeniable joy, like sparkling, like almost like the twinkles. I think about like the things in sunlight that you can see on a summer day, even the light in the air, the way it twinkles off the water. It's like music felt like that thing that makes life great.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then I kind of slowly kind of discover now today a lot. I say that it's soul communication,
Hmm.
and music is this mysterious, undeniable thing that's a force in the world. And I mean, it really is. It opens up a new sphere immediately, and it feels like it's soul communication.
And you have actually seen that. It's one thing to contemplate it or to know it for yourself, but I know that you have actually created that and seen that literally transform worlds
Yeah.
based on what you said. So the depth of where you're coming from, you're not just waxing poetic. You're actually speaking truth to power in that.
Yes. Yeah.
So you know what? I would love. I know this story, but I want to hear it again, man. Talk to us about Katrina, how that came to be, and what unfolded from that.
Yeah. So, when Hurricane Katrina hit the southern Gulf of the United States in 2005, I saw on the news. I saw the whole thing happen, and then I saw our fellow humans waiting in the water, and I saw the desperation, and I was just, I got to get there. I got to get there and serve and help.
And what were you doing at the time?
I was working at like a construction site in my hometown.
Hmm.
I had actually kind of gone back to my hometown in the mountains, kind of checking out about becoming a monk. Like, I
Hmm.
was in a time where I was going so deep into meditation, and I just had a desire to go deeper and deeper. So I went back to my hometown, and Was playing kind of music on the side, but and then just was doing kind of some construction carpentry work to make some money. And and I was able to, just talk to who I was working for. It was my friend. I was working for Mike Kuntz, and I just said, I gotta get there to serve. I want to go down to serve. And he was like, of course. And
And even with that, you weren't thinking I got to go down and bring music. You were just thinking I just have to go down there, like you said, to serve, to
yeah,
help, just to be some boots on the ground.
that's right. That's right. That was before. I mean, this moment was really kind of the inception of me realizing the power of music and the power of music as a service. Because, like you said, I was just going down there. I signed up with Red Cross, and I went down there, and I actually first tried to call, you know, Benjamin Suarez, uh, you know, and my great friend who I've done almost the majority of the great things in life that I've done with Benjamin. And I called him, and we were planning to go down, just the two of us, and find a way. We both wanted to go help. He wasn't able. He had to actually help some things going on with his family in the forefront, and so I ended up saying, okay, I signed up with Red Cross, and they were going to fly me down. And it was actually last minute that I decided to grab my guitar. And as I did a TED talk on this, and I talked in the TED talk about how, like, I was really hesitant to take the guitar because I was a budding musician then, and it made me so nervous to think about playing and singing my songs to people that have just experienced tragedy.
Hmm.
And I had all these kind of confused things about it. Like, then it's like I'm singing. It's not about me, it's about them. I didn't understand yet about the power of letting your light shine. That's not ego. That's like a service, that, to play music for people. But even still, at that point, I was still shy, and it was like, to sing, that was coming from my soul. And I was like, how can I sing like my happy songs and all these things in in the face of people that have experienced hardship? And I didn't know until then. I went down with my guitar. It ended up being the greatest thing that I had to bring. It ended up being the service that I was meant to bring, that I didn't know. And so
Imagine,
yeah,
I'm just thinking of that moment in time.
yeah,
What may seem like an innocuous thing. Oh, should I grab my guitar or not? And at the time, if you didn't grab your guitar, you would have went and you would have been of service. And there's a good chance that you wouldn't have thought, man, I wish I had my guitar here. You might have. But the fact that you made that choice and you brought it literally changed the course not only of your life, but of, as will unfold, literally millions of people.
yeah,
From that decision to say, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to bring this guitar.
yes, yes. And I realized that, like you said, or later, I realized that there was a leap about to happen. And that nervousness was the precipice of going into the unknown and potentially discovering all kinds of light that's meant to come through me and apart. And so when I got down there with the guitar, I got stationed in a shelter in Baton Rouge, about an hour north of New Orleans. And um, and there was about 600 people in that shelter. And for the first week, I didn't play the guitar. And my job was to check on people that were all sleeping on the gymnasium floor. And I go around, make sure they had all the toiletries they need, and just talk to them and connect. And then there was this one moment that I snuck in the back behind the shelter to try to just play some music for myself, because I just wanted to play a little for myself. I was trying to hide. And these two guys that were smoking the cigarettes right next to me, when I started to play this song, they like jumped in with me and like took the song over. And these were two evacuees that were living in the shelter, two men from New Orleans. And they started singing with me, and it was the most alive that I had seen anyone since I had been there. And I'm like, wait a second, my job, I came down here to help people. I came down here with my heart open because I wanted to help people feel better, feel joy, feel love, just help them physically, help them whatever. And I'm like, hold on, I just playing guitar and singing, I just saw these two guys like so happy, and that was my signal. And I was like, okay, yeah, get out of yourself, and you got to start playing in the mornings, at night, you got to start playing in that gymnasium. And so there was a speaker that they had that, you know, like, because it was a sports stadium that you could talk and everybody could hear. And so in the morning, I talked to other American Cross workers to like set that up, and I'm just going to sing a sweet song, you know, not too early. I don't want to like.
Now, was this at the Superdome?
This wasn't the Superdome. This was in Baton Rouge at Southern University Sports Dome.
Okay.
So yeah, 500 to 600 people were in there.
And
And
I'm just setting the container because that's a pretty good size for a dabbling, never played in front of people musician now. You
yeah,
go, you go from nobody to two guys smoking a cigarette outside to thinking, I got to play this for the stadium right now.
yeah. And actually I had before then, I had played in front of people, but not like a big group of people. My beginning as a musician actually started out like busking on the street, like in Venice and Santa Barbara, and just trying to create an atmosphere. So I'd had a little bit of that, but you're exactly right. I had never played to that many people, and the fact that so many were depressed, you know, it was that fear, like, will this be helpful? Or will they be like, shut up? You know, will my sound bring joy? And so I just played this song. I remember first I played that I had made up in a preschool class that I had made, called It's a Nice Day. And so I'd play this in the morning, like, it's a nice day. Oh, wait. I'm singing off. Hold on. I didn't sound like that. They probably would have said, get out of here. Um, yeah. I'm so awake. Yeah, I'm awake. I'm so awake. It's a nice day. I hope you have a nice day. Have a nice day. I hope you have a nice day. It's a nice day. I hope you have a nice day.
Mm.
And so that was one I was singing. I remember I was scared to even sing that. It's a nice day, like, but this is such a tragic moment. People are waking up. And but I'd usually just play that instrumental, and then I start singing It's a Nice Day. And I noticed that people would take, you know, it's that power of, you know, a song of gratitude, or a song of even amidst such a hard moment. And anyways, basically I grew and grew in that, and slowly what happened was I attracted this mob of actually kids, and there were some amazing singers in the kids, and we decided, and I was like, we need some life here while people are paralyzed in this waiting game. So we decided to do a talent show, and I started working with the kids on a song, like let's sing a song. And that's where we started constructing the Freedom Song. And I actually had a poem from a kid from Seattle that was a part that we used as a verse. And we wrote this song called the Freedom Song, and that song has changed my life.
So, speak a little bit about the trajectory of the Freedom Song.
Yeah.
And going into this share right now, I want to just really root in for everybody who's going to hear what happened and where it went, that this was written by you and children that were evacuees from Katrina
Yeah.
in a shelter at the biggest time of despair, is when this piece of music was created and birthed. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about the Freedom Song.
Yeah. So we put together this song, the Freedom Song, over some days and maybe weeks or something. I don't know. We kept vibing on it, and we performed it in front of the whole shelter of like 600 people. And I saw parents and grandparents. I just saw tears streaming, and I saw people flushed with like relief in a way of just emotion all coming out and singing freedom. Whoa, know how you like that freedom. And these parts of the song that are about freedom, and another part that's like, come on along, we know you really want to feel our song. We got some light to bring, we got some joy in this thing. And when that moment happened and it had that effect, I looked at the kids and I said, we got a job now. We got to go every afternoon, and we got to go around and we got to sing this song to parents on their cots and people in their circles. And we got to spread this, And it's the Freedom Song. And in a way, it was about inner freedom, mental freedom, like freedom, because everybody right then was kind of trapped, like that we were physically trapped. People did not. It was a hard moment right during that. All of the United States was trying to figure out how to help, and people on the ground bringing in donations and everything, but it was such a massive gridlock. People were in that gym for months, not knowing what's next, just trying to, it's like you got a revolving door, and suddenly 500 people need to go through that same revolving door. Everybody was equally just kind of devastated in this unknown waiting game. And so freedom, it just brought about this life. And I learned then too, I learned that like the power of music in a tragic situation, post-trauma, was so valuable to bring people in the moment, flush emotions, create healing and empowerment, a place to go with you're trapped. You sing a song, whoosh, suddenly you can be bigger than who you are.
This is Jacora, the 10-year-old, and this is right outside the shelter in Baton Rouge. Get your freedom. Let's get it. Yeah, keep that going.
We got some light to bring. We got some joy in this thing.
And so that was like the start of it. And then it was such a beautiful song, I decided to record it. And it's a whole beautiful long story that I do in that TED Talk. But like my grandpa, I actually went home, back to my home in mountains of Washington, and was talking about how this powerful experience I had with this song and with music. And actually my grandpa and my grandma too, said, you should go back down there and record that song, and we're going to pay for your flight to go there. And I asked Benjamin to come along with me now this time. And we went down and we recorded the Freedom Song, and we found the kids, and we drove through crazy roads with trees falling down to a studio that let us record for free. And we came out with a recording, the Freedom Song. And then that was that part of the story. And then I came home and I tried to share it with Oprah. I tried to share it with all kinds of people, this song, this story, and nothing really happened for like 5 years. And then I donated the song to a compilation CD called by an organization called Harmonic Humanity, who was distributing CDs on the streets for homeless to sell to make a profit.
And I just want to jump in to be really clear. You said 5 years went by.
Yeah.
Okay, so you take this action, and I think this is really important to touch on as another layer of the story, especially for, I don't know, man, anybody who's listening that thinks, oh, I made something and I'm really proud of it and I love it and it's great, but it didn't go anywhere. So I guess it's not going to happen, or I guess it's done, or that was good and I'm going to put it aside. That's just another layer, but I don't want to step over that. So 5 years later now, already, and if nothing else happened, the value and the worth of music, of what you were able to do to transform these people's lives, even if it was just the two guys outside, but it was so much more than that, right? How it changed the way that everybody who heard that, and the kids and their possibility of hope and what could be spread, and in ways you'll never know the impact that had, and as it spread and trickled down into their communities and their rebuilding. You record it, tried to share it, send it out, can't find anybody to pick it up, to blast it out. 5 years later now, you find a compilation. So let's pick it up from there.
Yeah. So Al Lovewins and Joseph Jacks were the two founders of Harmonic Humanity. And Al Lovewins approached me and just asked, hey, will you donate your song, the Freedom Song? Because I was playing the song to all my friends and everybody loved it. With the kids, the original one you hear with the kids singing, the kids from the shelter. And he said, hey, will you donate this song? Can we use it on our Harmonic Humanity CD, Love Wins? It's going to be distributed to people facing homelessness on the street, and they're going to be able to buy it for $2 and sell it for $10, something in that price range. And I said, yes, of course. The Freedom Song it's the world's song. And so they put it on their compilation CD. And then Joseph Jacks went to a Jason Mraz concert, maybe in San Francisco, I'm not sure. But he was able to get backstage. I think he might have snuck backstage. And he talks to Jason. I don't know if he had met Jason then yet or not, but he says, hey, this is our project. This is what we're doing. And this is the first Harmonic Humanity CD, Love Wins. And here you go. And he gives it to Jason, gives Jason the album. And then on my end, I don't know how many months went by, but I decided to check my MySpace. This is back when MySpace was going on. And I hadn't got on my MySpace. I hadn't signed in a month or two. I don't even know. And I get on there. I click on there. And I see this message from this guy, Jason Mraz. And the message had been sent like a month ago. And I thought at first it was spam. You know, I was just kind of scrolling down. And then I was like, that first sentence really looks like a human. It's like said, "Hey, Luke, I'm absolutely hooked on your song, the Freedom Song." And I was like, what? And I click on it. And I had only just a week ago been introduced to Jason Mraz as a musician artist because I was watching the Grammys and he was singing the "I'm Yours" on the Grammys. And the way he sang, the vibe of the song, I was like, ooh, this is groovy.
And that's a good point, that this is Jason Mraz reaching out to you. Not that he's been amazing the past decade, but he was at the height of it. He was at the Grammys at the time when he reaches out to you.
Yes. Yeah, I just seen him, and so I'm like, wait, is this Jason Mraz? And so I click on it, and it's this message, this beautiful, heartfelt message, and he's saying, you know, I heard your song on the Harmonic Humanity CD that Joseph gave me, and I just keep listening to it over and over. And I tracked you, tried to find you, I tracked you down. I saw your MySpace page. And as I learned where the song came from and you and the kids, he's like, I'm in love with the whole thing. And I want to ask your permission to record it with my band in San Diego and turn it into a smash hit and take it around the world. And I'll always tell the story of where it came from. And that was the beginning of a really beautiful friendship. And he did just that. He recorded it and took it around the world.
I want to know if we can go back in time. We went back into 16-year-old Luke. This is whatever it is, 30-year-old Luke, playing some music, probably sharing it a little bit more over this past 5 years, growing incrementally, hadn't checked your MySpace page. And then you get a message from a dude that you just saw on the Grammys who says, I love your song. I can't stop listening to it. Do I have your permission to record it, take it around the world, and always share the story?
Yeah.
Do you remember what you were feeling or experiencing when you read that message?
Yeah, it was so exciting, and I just there's the energy, like right here. I remember just whoosh, this energy that just kind of exhilaration inside, that it felt so validating, and like, you know, almost like you're in third grade and like the teacher just comes over and is like, your poem that you wrote, it's got this big like golden star, and it's like putting it like right here is just like, you wrote the most incredible poem. And you know, I think it was just like, wow, it was exhilarating, and just the whole journey.
Except in this instance, the teacher would have been like Maya Angelou.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Kind of turns in. Yeah, exactly. It is. Yeah. And along with the journey and those beautiful kids and everyone that was like a part of that song, and it was the first. Oh yeah, that's the first song I ever recorded. It was the only song. Wait, at that point, I think it was it the, no, I think at that point I'd recorded, but it was the first song I ever recorded. And it was, Yeah, it was special, but I'll tell you the most special moment, which is still one of the top moments, like musical, spiritual, of my life, was basically he started playing the song, and the moment I'm talking to you about, I'm going to lead up to, but the first moments were amazing when all of a sudden Felipe, my band member and great friend, like all of a sudden just like, Luke, check this out. He sends me a video. It was the first time I see Jason's at like the NAMM show, and I just hear him go, I picture something, it's beautiful. And he starts singing the Freedom Song. It was like so weird. It's like, that's the song that just always harkens to that moment with the kids on the cement kind of in the lobby of the sports dome after Hurricane Katrina. And that song, every word is like in my blood and bones. And this person I haven't met yet, and he's singing to the crowd this the song, and it was like, ooh, whoa. And it was just like, whoa, it was so weird and awesome, though. It was awesome. It was exciting. And
I picture something is beautiful. It's full of life and it is all blue.
And so that was really cool. But then what happened is he started singing it all around kind of the globe, and we'd see it. But then he took the song to someone who is now a dear friend of ours, Peggy Callahan. And Peggy Callahan was a co-founder of Free the Slaves. And Free the Slaves is an organization in the world right now that is fighting against modern slavery. And we came to learn that there's some 35 million slaves in the world today. And that even proportionately to population, there's more slaves than ever have been before, which I could not believe. And Jason brought her the Freedom Song and said, you have to hear this. And she listened and she said, this is our theme song. I'm going to bring this song to a shelter in Ghana for recently freed boy slaves, specifically boys that would they would get enslaved into working in the a lake in Ghana, maybe a lot more. I don't know if I have the facts right, but they would either get purchased from their family or lied to their family that they're coming to work for a little bit, and then they would be a slave of these fishermen, and they'd have to go down into dangerous waters to grab the nets and all this stuff. And Free the Slaves started freeing as many of these boys as they could, these boys and young men. And they brought this song, the Freedom Song, from the kids and I in the shelter in Baton Rouge after Hurricane Katrina. They brought it over there, and the song became this group of like 35 boys. I don't know if I have the number right. It was their life song, their theme song. They would sing it, freedom, oh. And we're talking even down to a little 6-year-old that can barely, maybe he was a little younger. Peggy told me about this one kid that could barely pronounce it. We go, freedom. And I didn't know any of this. And then Jason started to tell me a little bit about it, and he sent me an email one day. And I was having a band practice with the band we'd created, Luc and the Lovingtons. And I came home at midnight, and I opened up my computer, and there was a message from Jason from Ghana. And I clicked on it, and it was him walking up with Peggy Callahan and this group of like 20, 25 former slaves, young boys, and their teacher, and they were singing the Freedom Song word for word to the end.
We've got some life to celebrate. We've got some joy in this thing. Come on, Lord, we really want to feel our some life to bring. We got some joy in this thing. I heard the Freedom Song a couple of months ago, and it was a song by a young man, Luc Reynaud, who traveled to Baton Rouge shortly after Hurricane Katrina, and he wrote this Freedom Song with children in a shelter. And the song moved me, the story moved me, and I found this on MySpace, and the story said, please take this song and share it with the world, it needs to be heard. And then I met the good people at Free the Slaves. I said, you guys got to hear this Freedom Song, it just really fits with the work that you're doing. Of course, Free the Slaves shared the Freedom Song with the kids here at Challenging Heights.
Sunset on the beach, yeah.
And I had nothing to do with it. We get out of the van, and the kids and their teacher are singing it note for note, every word, every lick, every nuance, singing the Freedom Song. Come on along. I know you really want to hear our song. We've got some life to bring. And I noticed these kids are saying we've got a light to bring. We've got some joy in this thing.
Come on, feel that song. We got some light to bring. We got some joy in this thing.
To hear these kids sing of freedom when here in this place might actually be the first time these kids are ever knowing what freedom really is. You know, they're being oriented in and introduced to freedom itself, the real deal.
To feel good. And when I feel good, I sing. The joy it brings.
It just shows me what the power of music can do. And I salute Luc for writing a terrific song and wanting to share it with the world, wanting to give it away. And I sent him a text last night. I said, man, I just heard 20 former child slaves sing your song note for note. And he wrote me back. He's like, it's their song. He said, I wrote it for them. That's just huge.
All for you, all for you, all for you, all for you is freedom.
Luc, that was for you, buddy.
And I felt the whole moment right there from this intimate song that we had created in a shelter with these kids in a desperate moment after losing their homes to the water and the hurricane of Katrina. And then now, like 6 years later, this song is now being sung by boys who've been freed from slavery, and it's an emancipation song. It's like grown into like freedom. And I felt this feeling of like it just being this thing way beyond, you know, it's the world's song now. It's the, you know, the freedom song. And that was one of the top spiritual moments still that I've had with music and in my life. And I always thought it was like the unthinkable, like that, to be able to touch somebody with a song, like, because the way that music touched me when I was a kid was the most sacred thing, like a song that would really take you there. And to think that I could ever be about a part of a song that takes someone towards that freedom or that ecstasy that does something for them deeply. And yeah, so that's a little about the freedom song. And it kind of, that has kept going, that the story of the freedom song is continued on. And Jason and I have made a great friendship, and he's become a part of a lot of the stuff with the Goodness Tour that we've done, and we've become a part of a lot of the incredible things that he does.
It gives me great pleasure to introduce the first band, the band we've been on the road with for a couple of days now. One of my favorite bands. They drove all the way out from Seattle, Washington. So when you support this band, you're helping to put gas directly into their vehicle to keep their wheels rolling. I think they're one of the most heart-centered bands that's out there right now. Please give it up. A lot of love for Luc and the Lovingtons. Give it up for Luc and the Lovingtons. Luc and the Lovingtons. Luc and the Lovingtons. Luc and the Lovingtons. Ow! Give it up for Jason Mraz. And
So, you know, from there, I mean, part of me, I kind of want to just sit here in silence for like 15 minutes and like just feel the weight and the capacity of the impact of everything that you just shared. That would not be interesting to watch. So we'll move on to continue. I would encourage anybody who hearing this, maybe just hit pause for a moment and really sit into what that means, of what that was. And I do want to just reflect one thing about this, which I'm sure that you know for yourself, but maybe, again, I just don't want to step over, is that there's so much in our society, in our culture, that teaches us of what success is in terms of fame or celebrity or money or likes or those sorts of metrics. And a lot of times that's a motivating factor. And it's not that the people who are focused on that don't also want to have an impact or don't also want to do something good, but then they get a little bit distorted in terms of which one's leading which. And what I hear from you, from the moment you said, yes, I have to go to Katrina, when you picked up your guitar, when you played over the loudspeaker, when you said yes to Jason Mraz to use your song, what I didn't hear, this wasn't about, and I signed a deal with him and I got these writing credits or whatever it may be, to when you donated the song again to this CD. What happened was all of those things that people strive for. You had your song recorded and continues to be shared around the world by a world-renowned Grammy, I think, winning musician. Who knows how many people have heard that? The guy has sold millions and millions of records. Your song became the anthem for slave children in Ghana. What? I mean, I'm filled with goosebumps thinking about that. If you were to be told before you started playing music, you know what, one day you're going to write a song and 25 boys in Ghana who have been enslaved are going to sing it, and it's going to be their anthem, you would have said, man, that would be amazing. That would be enough, probably. I'm going to assume you would have thought, what an accomplishment that would be. And this one song, from all of these steps, ended up having all of the other success metrics. But at not one single time of its evolution was that a motivating factor. It was a byproduct. It was a reflection from your true intention. And, you know, the beauty of that shows that you don't have to choose one or the other. You don't have to forego commercial success or financial abundance or any of those sorts of things to have an impact and to serve.
Yeah.
But which one is going to be the driving force? And it's just amazing, man. You know, I've heard this story before, but I could listen to it every day. I'm so inspired by so many aspects of this. And it's not the, oh man, I wonder if something that I do could be world renowned. It's, wow, if I just focus on sharing myself and not being afraid,
Yeah.
because I know that whatever I have to give can help somebody, who knows how far that impact can go. And you know, if your story and our conversation were to end right now, it would be, whoa, that's amazing. That's an incredible story. I've gotten so much from this story. I don't need anything more. I'm charged up. But it doesn't end there, does it?
No.
So now, and you mentioned, you dropped it as perfect, the segue.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Goodness Tour. So let's open up that conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really the beginning. The Freedom Song was the beginning when I realized that I could join my two passions of music and service into one. And music service. And then my great friend Benjamin Suarez, a painter, also taking that same journey in a wild way. We have these incredible parallels through his art as a painter and serving through his art. And then you have all the Lovingtons and Jeremiah Alexis, a filmmaker, and we all came together. And you know, I had this moment again where it came up, and some of it was instigated from going real deep, but my other great friend Felipe Cañete, who was a founder of the band Luc and the Lovingtons, along, you know, with the rest of the group, and is like an angelic friend to me. He passed on. He in 2013 he made his transition. I say transcended. You know, people use the word died. I use the word transcended because it reflects more of a truth of what I feel, because I don't talk about him as a was. I feel Felipe as an is. Even as I talk about him, I feel him as an is. I could almost feel him laughing if I talk to him about him as a was.
Like, hey, I'm right here, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, it's unexplainable, but I felt a connection with him even after he passed beyond his body. And that was a very deep, intense time I spent, you know, with Felipe. I had spent the last 8 years, like probably more time than you spend with a partner. So it was like, we're just flying along here. We're doing music together. And Felipe was there through all the exciting new development with the Jason Mraz connection. And we actually ended up going on tour with Jason Mraz. We did a national tour, and our first show was for 35,000 people. and boom, like going from probably like 500 people. And still all of this is through this unexpected song that was just born from service, from following what's the best way to serve. And we got to do this incredible tour with him, and Felipe just rocked it. Felipe would do Spanish hip hop. Felipe's from Chile. And so he would bring his flavor and dance and all that, and just percussion and sing backups with me. Huge part of the whole energy of the Lovingtons. And so when he passed over, it was like I'm running like this, or it's like we were together, just running or dancing, and all of a sudden, shoo, it's like disappeared, like, you know. And even since that moment, you know, that's what's so crazy. And still, even since that moment, I haven't been able to touch him physically again, but I have felt his presence constantly, and I talk to him and I ask him advice and questions, and sometimes I feel like he put some traits into my heart when he passed on. It's like I gained some extra traits that maybe it's just the way I imagine things, but that he just passed over into my heart, you know. But I had to grow in lots of ways because he fulfilled this very important role. We were, you know, left arm, right arm when it comes to the music and the band. And so that winter, as I was going through it, I did this exercise that I've done a lot in life, and I actually have done some assemblies with kids, and I've done a thing called, and the subject of my assembly, the theme is follow the tingle. And because it's the way to describe the way my life has been led is I follow the tingle, like right here in the heart, and I listen to what gives me that tingle, that like, ooh, and I've learned to trust that, even if it's kind of crazy and not really rational. What is that gives me that tingle? And so in this moment in the winter, I went down into the basement. It was snowing, and I was in the mountains of my hometown, and I lit a candle, and I closed my eyes, and I tried to feel for the tingle, and I also asked myself this question. I said, because it was a time we were trying to figure out what to do with the band, the Lovingtons, and music, and I had put so much life and even identity and everything into that. And I closed my eyes and I just said, if there were no obstacles, what's the most direct thing you would like to do with your music on earth? The most important thing. And the answers came right away. I was like, I want to bring my music to people that are facing some of the hardest moments, that are on that edge of pain, that we all at times in life are on that edge, that ledge of pain. And, you know, and it just came to me. I want to go to refugee camps, homeless shelters, you know, hospitals, just the general feeling of people that are facing great challenge. And I was like, I want to go bring this music as love, as free love, and just give it as free energy, and to just create a boost. And that was the inception of the thought. And then I think then it was, I was like, we can make it into a tour, and it'll be called the Goodness Tour. And I think those words came right away, and I was like, because it'll be so bubbling with goodness. The whole point would be goodness. Like every day of the goodness tour, you're putting all of your focus on goodness. What's the most good you can create today with your skills, your art, your music, whatever it is. And so I called Jeremiah Alexis, I think is one of the first folks I talked to about it, and he started envisioning with me. Then I had a friend, Nadia Sophia Tinay, who was envisioning with me, and then Benjamin, of course, started visioning. And then I called like the Lovingtons, Lauren Bowley, Jake Shaw, and Joseph Jacks from Harmonic Humanity, and a lot of other. I get kind of scared as I'm doing names now because there's like a lot of other people started talking to, kind of building this. And then in our second tour, there was a lot of other people that came in, like Glenn Shackley and Greg Goad and my cousin Bree, and now we have this whole new huge team that, if we're getting into names, I would want to list off, but we're just talking about the beginning of the Goodness Tour. And of course, my family and everyone. And
now you're speaking in terms of really getting into the unfolding of it, and it's beautiful to see that process, right? That step by step, and where this idea, just sitting with yourself, be like, man, what is the highest alignment? What's the highest good?
Yeah.
I'm gonna just focus on that. What's possible from there? Planting that seed, and then kind of witnessing or allowing the universe to start to converge together to formulate, to allow for that unfolding.
Yes.
And so now, what's the first iteration of the Goodness Tour? Where was the first way that it showed itself in form?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, and Peggy Callahan we were talking to a lot, and my friend Corin McDonald, and a bunch of other folks. But the first tour we went from Seattle to San Diego down the West Coast. We played in 17 homeless shelters and tent encampments. We played in several hospitals, cancer research facilities for the doctors and the cancer patients. We went to a youth crisis shelter. We went to a handicap center, among other things. And I'm telling you, the first day of the Goodness Tour, when we went, I think the first one we played in Mary's Place in Seattle, homeless shelter for women and children. And it was like, after that moment that we shared with all those women, and that moment of playing music, and it was at the end, it was like, this is, you could just feel it. This road's going on forever. We can't stop. This is, and the amazing thing on that first tour is the band was just as high, just as filled up on that tour after each show as we were from the 35,000 people shows with Jason Mraz on his national tour. Like we had that same level of like, oh my God, I can go to sleep tonight, like so filled up, because the value, there's nothing like having a mother hug you in tears with her baby in her arms, telling you, you just made my whole day. You just lifted my whole heart. Like, I feel like this whole month is going to be different now from this moment, this music that you guys decided to come play for us. And that's, you can't even exchange that value And that's what happened along that whole tour. Like, it was a total transformation. And that was, what is that? That was seven years ago now. And we've continued for 7 years, and we did two more tours down the West Coast. And then we went international to a Syrian refugee camp in northern Jordan. And we went to Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria, the Bahamas recently after Hurricane Dorian, Mexico, a bunch of other places that we've just continued to do the Goodness Tour. And the Goodness Tour is music and art for people facing adversity. So it's not just music, it's also art, even filmmaking and photography. But what we've all found is the power of creativity as a healer. And a person that has been through extreme trauma. If you can help find a way to kind of ignite or instigate them to be creative with just what they have or a few tools, there's an empowerment that's created instantly that creates healing, presence, joy. Because, okay, I'm kind of going off now, but
well, go on.
Okay.
Yeah, no, flow, man.
What I figured out, or like some of the reflections that I would have of witnessing like the Goodness Tour, is I was like, yeah, that is the moment, like when a person is being creative, like a Syrian refugee who, a 14-year-old Syrian refugee who had to walk through war and had circumstances outside of their control take away their home, their family, everything they've known. They had to walk for survival, and now they're in a refugee camp. Circumstances have all done this. As soon as they start to create, suddenly they're making something that is independent from circumstance. It's coming directly from within them. And actually, it's like one of the one things we have control over. We can create. We can make something. Circumstances also affect it and all that, but it's instant empowerment.
Yeah.
I'm making something. It takes these feelings out too. It does this. Suddenly there's a direction. I'm trapped in a refugee camp that's with just dirt and dusty on the border of northern Jordan. And suddenly I'm writing a song, or I'm painting a painting, and suddenly I'm high. I'm filled with joy. I'm dancing inside because I'm making something. I'm going somewhere. I'm traveling.
Dude, yeah, I'm so excited to hear what you're saying there, and I'm biting my tongue a little bit, because what you're speaking about, of what you experienced, and just through your own creation, your own context, is a living example of so much that I actually teach and write about when it comes about our understanding of time. And I don't want it to hijack the conversation about that, but I want to provide some context to it. The really beautiful thing about it is because you don't need to have the depth of the context to be able to actually live it. But what the heart of it is about, when we can look in things in a polarity, a duality, we come from the singularity. We have, right, all is one, the infinite, and from that we experience this duality. We experience multiplicity within this human form. And so there's a beauty of us having contrast, because in contrast we're able to have an experience that is a yin or a yang, or a this or a that, or what, a sweet or a sour. So from that perspective, when we view ourselves in terms of time, we view time as a finite, quantitative, commoditized thing, right? You can run out of time. We count our time. How much time did it take for me to do something? So you could say, how long did you play on that stage with Jason Mraz? How many people were in the audience? How long was the tour? How much money did you make? How many people were in the shelter? That's how we track time currently, right? It's quantitative. Now we can get into the deep metaphysical piece of it, and that's for a separate conversation. But what time actually is, right? When you understand its own dimension, that it's cyclical, that it's infinite, it is impossible to quantify something that is cyclical and infinite. It can only be measured qualitatively. And in that regard, that's what allows you and your band to have a homeless woman and her baby give you the same value of your time than playing in front of 35,000 people opening up for Jason Mraz. And you can imagine living a life where you measured and tracked your time based on the quality of the experience that you're having. The value of your time in that shelter was just as valuable and well spent than playing in front of those 35,000 people. There's a lot more depth there into what that is, but there's one other thing when you talked about the power of creation, which is really, it's all in line of this polarity and this duality, coming at it in every angle. You're either a victim or you're a creator. Either life is happening to you or you are happening to life. And a lot of people hear that victim word and they might have a derogatory statement, but it essentially says, it's happening to me. When you're a victim, things happen to you, and you are at the effect of your circumstances. When you are a creator, you affect your circumstances. Life doesn't happen to you, you happen to life. And so from that aspect, it doesn't matter what the conditions are. And that doesn't mean that the people in the camps aren't going to feel sad, aren't going to feel pain, aren't going to feel frustration, aren't going to feel all of those sorts of things. But that doesn't stop them from having the ability to tap in consciously to the creator that they are. Because when you come down to it, understanding that all of this, all of it, right, is just energy manifested into form from an energetic source of creation. And every aspect of you is wholly and fully connected to and emanating from that creative source, whatever you call it. Therefore, every single thing that you do, every thought, every action, every intention, every word is an act of creation. You can't escape it. And even when you experience victimization, you are creating that. So what you are providing, what you did provide, even without all of this context, we could go so much deeper into all these levels and ancient wisdoms and dimensions and sacred geometry and vortex mathematics and all of that sort of stuff. You don't know any, I'm not saying you don't know any about that. I'm saying none of that matters to you. Tapping in to simply that tingle, that source, and what you're reflecting, what you just shared, is the same teaching. Having these people, through your music and your sharing, flip their perspective from victim to creator. And that in and of itself shifts the entire experience, not only of their time, but of their life. To actually say, I have a choice into what my life is. And you did say this too, man. This is such a profound teaching of what you just shared. Ultimately, maybe the one thing we have in this life is choice of our perspective. And so that shift you talked about earlier, that freedom of the mind, the internal paralysis, the internal shackles, is what literally creates the liberation for us individually and then collectively. And you are doing this on a day-to-day basis. And what I just can't stress enough is what this looks like in action. It doesn't matter what the books say, it doesn't matter what the teachers say, it doesn't matter what the context is. That might help to give some frame, but when you just live it, what becomes possible? So I'll take a step back from that, man, but like hearing the way you were sharing it, it's just like, you're a musician, but that's the teachings, man. That's like the real stuff. That's the heart of it. So it's really beautiful to see that just manifested into actual form, actually being on the ground. And for you to recognize too, what you're doing, you're not, and you know this, and this is for any other buddy who's listening who wants to be a musician or a painter or an accountant, or it doesn't even matter. But the action that you're called to do, you're not just a musician.
Yeah.
You're a bridge. You're a light. And the world changes. The world gets shifted and expanded one person at a time as you can help to have them change their perspective to step into their divinity.
Yes.
Their ability to create. And, for me, that's like the one thing that I think for myself, and that's why I'm personally like lit up right now, hearing you share about it. I think for me, man, what can I do? What's the one thing I could do? I could give people this or that, and you could say, oh, I could give them hope. I could do, we could bring some joy, whatever. If you can connect people to their source, to their divinity, to their ability to create their life, there's nothing greater you can do in this world, because from that point, they can choose what their life is. And so the power of the gift you're giving is bigger than hope. It's bigger than joy. It's literally connection to the source of creation.
And kind of what you said about the part of maybe like activating the divinity in others, or the spark, or like others of, it made me think about one of the most inspiring concerts I went to, just for this particular reason of what I got, was a Jimmy Cliff concert in Seattle, and what I got from it, all of the love on stage, and his concert, what it did to me is it made me excited to be me. And it lit a fire in here. And I also knew right then, I said, that's the type of musician I want to be. I want to be the type of musician. I want to be the type of artist that adds to people being excited about themselves, thrilled about themselves, thrilled at the possibility. Because there's the other one where there's a type of artistry that can be like, take all the energy and be like, look at me, don't you wish you could do this? And people kind of do this idolization thing and watch an artist and if only I could do that, and there are these masters that you watch and you know that you could never do, and you do get to just in awe at this mastery. But me, I love to be the type of artist that lights up, the mastery in others and just makes them thrilled to be them. And yeah.
And look at the impact, look at the impact that it has. And so, maybe coming back to the Goodness Tour a bit, and then I want to transition into what you're doing now and present day, because we looked at the Freedom Song and what that was, and then that happened, and then it was like, and that was just the beginning. It's like, wow, you had a TED Talk about this, and then we went on the Goodness Tour, and you went up and down the West Coast. You went to Syria, you went to Puerto Rico, and then it's like, yeah, but I'm just getting started. Which, maybe you can speak a little bit to that and what that feels like, that generative creation and that drive, and leading into what's unfolding now.
Yes. Yeah, we went to, maybe just getting into specifics, kind of like you're asking, is so we went to northern Jordan, didn't actually go into Syria. We were 10 miles from the southern border of Syria, and we worked with Syrians. People often say, oh, you went to Syria, because it kind of is like that, but I just express that particular because in that time, to go to Syria, the chances of death are just so great. And
then also, I'm glad you said that, but it's, it's kind of you to try to like contextualize yourself, like, no, I didn't go into Syria, but you're like, the like you said, it's 10 miles. The camps were just over the border.
Yes.
So I just don't want you to diminish the impact that you had by saying, "Oh, I didn't actually go into Syria."
Right. Yes,
So,
yes.
yeah.
No, I understand. I appreciate that. And so we were there, and I guess I was speaking from the standpoint of being smart in the way that unless you had armor and protection at that time to go into Syria, you could be creating there needed to be, oh God, it was like, we already had that. I had those fears going just up to the border in northern Jordan, and I was able to kind of relieve those fears. And I think one thing that's helpful, it's if there's a true deep call that's coming from a service standpoint, that's what I've always listened to. And if it's undeniable, I've kind of always followed that. But anyways, maybe getting a little off track, but we ended up doing a project there. We were there for several months doing music and art classes, but created another song that kind of became like a freedom song that was called Welcome to My House. And it was a song that I had already been writing. I had pretty much wrote almost all of the song, but after our 2 months in the refugee camp, I decided to start singing it with the kids and folks we were working with, and this group of teenage girls started singing Welcome to My House in Arabic, and the song kind of took off in that energy, and they were singing Ahlan ila Beiti, Ahlan ila Beiti, and my pronunciation is bad, but in a sense, welcome to my house. And in the song itself, it's like, you're welcome to my house. You're welcome to my house. Every day I keep joy in my walk, love in my talk, peace in my house. You're welcome to my house. You're welcome to my house. You're welcome to my house. And that idea of welcoming someone to your house, which in a sense is just almost the same as welcoming someone to your heart. And throughout this whole day, with all the kids and the adults singing welcome to my house in Arabic and English in front of these tin structures, these in this refugee camp, these makeshift homes, and you could see behind them, you could see the mountains of Syria, you could see their home behind them, and here they are in this difficult refugee camp, and they're singing like with a smile and with joy and their heart open. You're welcome to my house. You're welcome to my house. And we all got the spark right there that is the demonstration of hospitality, human hospitality. That is what we want to share with the world. This song, Welcome to My House, from people who have had to flee from their home and living in a makeshift home, and they're singing Welcome to My House. I was thinking that is the example for everyone in the world for that type of human hospitality across borders. So we then spent 6 months setting up the process to film this beautiful music video, Welcome to My House, there in Jordan. And then we collaborated with a group of kids from Mount Vernon, Washington, that were to sing with the Syrian refugee youth from Jordan in the song, back and forth from English to Arabic. You're welcome to my house. You're welcome to my house. Enjoy, love, peace. And we had this, the 6 months that it took, and then the process of filming the music video in the refugee camp and all of the difficulties that we had to overcome, and filming in the desert and then back in Seattle. And Jason Mraz became an executive producer on that. And we put together this piece, and it was also a Lovingtons song. It was Luc and the Lovingtons song, but it was in this context of the Goodness Tour and the project and the people we had worked with. And we came out with this music video, which is still one of the top creations in my life that I feel like I've been a part of, and a song that's kind of says everything I believe in. Welcome to my house.
If you get it, you could really fly by seeing all your folks grow and climb, because you lift them up. I got those thorns and those bitter seeds, but I always share the sweetest part of me, because I'm not equipped to judge. So every day I keep joy in my walk, love in my talk, peace in my house. I keep joy in my walk, love in my talk, peace in my house. You're welcome to 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 my house.
We put it out with an intent to just bring people into their hearts. No matter who you were voting for, no matter what, there was all this divide coming, and we wanted to put out this thing that didn't choose a tit for tat. It just showed human love, human hospitality. And you'll see the way the video's done, you get lost. You don't even remember. I'm kind of giving away the secret or whatever, but it's just cool to talk about. But the emphasis of the director, Mo Najati, was that you can't even tell at a certain point who's Syrian, who's American, who's what. And you see humans, you see love. And so that project was incredible, but I felt like continuing on to say that then, and this is just from the music perspective, if you talk to Benjamin and Jeremiah and others of the Goodness Tour about their art forms, incredible things as well. But from the music perspective of the Goodness Tour, after that, a couple years later, when I went to Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria, another thing happened where a song was born, but this time I was playing the guitar and this Puerto Rican father started singing a song about how Puerto Rico is going to rise up and make it. And we were in a classroom with all these kids. Everybody had lost their homes. We were on top of a mountain in the west side of Puerto Rico. And it was a moment of despair and struggle. And this father started singing this song from his heart about Puerto Rico. And I got that same spark. And I said, this is a song being born. And I decided to drop everything and follow the birth of this song. But this time, I didn't want to write or sing any of the words. I wanted to just be a midwife to the song and help it be born. I was there playing the guitar. I was singing ooh, ah. I was a part of that inception moment of that father singing it. And then I said, let's just follow this song. And I actually flew back to Puerto Rico to do that with a filmmaker. And we just had one chorus and we drove around the island and we didn't know that it would take 3 months. And the song ended up being written by over 100 Puerto Ricans from all walks of life.
Wow.
And the way the song was written is we just followed signs. Heard about, because we knew we wanted it to just be from the belly of that adversity and that island. And that we were just midwives. We were just conjurers, or, sparking the flame or throwing gasoline on the flame of creativity. And so we would just listen, this song needs a verse. Maybe it could be from a kid, or maybe it could be from whatever. And then we'd learn about an amazing teenage kid singer from the west of the island. And we'd drive there and he'd write and sing on the song. Then we learned about another young girl. And then we found out about an elderly choir, like high up in the mountains. And we went there and we literally just followed signs. It was the exact opposite of, we're going to go to Puerto Rico and we're going to find all the famous artists and we're going to get them all to come to the studio and we're going to write we're going to get better song. And I'm not talking against that form of creativity. That happens and that's beautiful. But I'm just talking about how this one came about in such an incredible way that it took longer. It took 3 months, but the whole thing was experiential and it all raveled. One Puerto Rican man was like, this song is being written by the hands of God, and yeah,
literally.
Yeah. That's what I felt. I was praying the whole time. Like, I just say, guide us to the next step. This is crazy. I know this is, at moments my mind was going, this is crazy, because I dropped everything, and Glenn Shackley, filmmaker and great friend and part of the Goodness Tour, he went with me, and all we had was a chorus. And we have a chorus to a song, and we're on an island that's in a desperate moment after the devastation of Maria, and we're over there following this song being put together. And there were moments when all of a sudden it wasn't making sense, and somebody was like, maybe you should drop that chorus, or what's this? And and I had almost nothing concrete to go on. And I'm like, I'm so far from my home in this disaster zone, and I'm following this song. And there were so many places where I could have just go, you know, I'm crazy. I'm like, this is out there, and it's just a song, you know, like, come on, it's just a song. But I had the memory of the Freedom song in my head. So I knew that, oh, it's just a song. I knew to trust the spark, the tingle. And when I'd have those huge moments of doubt, I remember sitting on the beach, like I was actually able to go to like a beach that, you know, kind of had trees down and stuff. It was still kind of rough, but there were still pretty areas of Puerto Rico after the hurricane. And I was like, okay, I can still I know 100% that I felt the spark. I felt the tingle. So that's it. Let me just keep praying to be guided every day. And Glenn and I, like, we had an experience that's, you can't even believe the way the song came together in this huge recording studio, Astra Studios, and Francisco Zamora and Yamil, and we all kind of like came together, and Jose Che, and so many other names, but we just we created this song called A Celebrar, and let's celebrate, A Celebrar. And we put that song out, and we used it to raise funds to bring solar panels to homes in the mountains of Puerto Rico that desperately needed electricity. If you can remember, there was a huge problem with, almost a year getting electricity back. And so we said, let's use this creation that's born from adversity, and let's see if the goodness can just keep unraveling. Let's now use it as a catalyst to bring some support to homes that desperately need electricity. And so that whole project took about 9 months, maybe a year. I almost like became living in Puerto Rico, and that one super changed my life. But you can also see the video of that one, A Celebrar. It's on our Luc and the Lovingtons YouTube channel. And
Dale, no pare que se te acabó el día. Ya es hora de que brindes alegría. Por Puerto Rico, la isla entera, nada ni nadie aquí nos frena, aunque estemos dentro o fuera. El borincano se queda con el canto. Puerto Rico se levanta.
And boy, my mouth is getting dry now because you got me excited. And
I know,
I know I've been talking a lot. We've been doing a lot of subjects here.
I know, but you got me excited. I was just thinking too, it's like, dude, we could do a whole series just about you. Man, I mean, literally, I could listen to this for hours and chat with you. And I mean, such an inspiration to see it's unfolding. It's like moment after moment, these incredible experiences that one would make a lifetime. And there's so many, and there are so many more to come. Like you said, you know, it didn't matter. It took 3 months or 9 months, whatever. And you shift the way that you relate to your time. What's the quality of your experience, and how do you determine the quality? Is that alignment and that tingle and that connection. But you weren't worried about this is taking too long. Not that maybe those thoughts came up, or I'm running out of money, or any of those sorts of quantitative ideas. Maybe they come up. But kudos to you for not allowing that to take over, and, you know, keep coming back. And again, look what happened. What was the output?
Yeah.
hit all of the other metrics all the same. There's so many lessons to get out of this.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I literally like could create an entire course based on this conversation of what you said, of your experiences of these moments. So it's really, really inspiring. I do want to um, probably find a way to come back to this because it's like even for me right now, I'm just like, man, I got to integrate. So I'm like bursting with what you're sharing.
Yeah.
So share a little bit about coming to like what are you doing now?
Yeah.
And I do have to bring this up, and you find a way to work this in, being that on our Zoom call right now, there's a name on the bottom that isn't yours. So,
Yes.
so for anybody who's watching this, is probably going to wonder, well, who's Dana Walden? So, because the name's right there. So maybe just share a little bit
That's funny.
about what you're doing right now,
Yeah.
and how that comes in, and what's unfolding, what's next.
Okay. Yeah. And that's great that you brought up the name down there because the name is significant, that name there to what I'm doing now. But, and right now, because that name there is Dana Walden, and Dana Walden has become a manager, a mentor, a great friend to, he's managing Luke and the Lovingtons and the Goodness Tour right now, and in a way is just a mentor and a creator of a lot of the things we're doing. And I am in his studio right now. This is Dana Walden's keyboard, both of his keyboards, and
And I got to just throw in as
Mike.
we go into that just a little context as we open it up, of the many great things that Dana's done. For those that don't know,
Yeah.
can't step over that he penned one of the greatest love songs of all time.
Yes. Dana Walden wrote "How About Us" by
So
Champagne.
just instead of me, I could do it, but just sing the chorus real quick.
Yeah. Gosh, I hope I don't. Sorry, Dana, and sorry, Champagne. If some people were made for each other, some people will last forever. How about us?
Yeah, that's it. I love that. Oh man,
Yeah.
so good, and it's really one of the all-time classics.
Yeah.
So anyway, now a little bit, but Dana has, I mean, that's again, you talk about so many things. It's one little piece, but I just want to throw that in too, so anybody
Yes.
listening knows that. But now, here working with him, what's next for the Goodness Tour? What's next for Luke and the Lovingtons? And yeah, let's start there. And then I do want to make sure, I know you got some new music, and I want you to share a song with us as well before we wrap
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. So we right now are still in the middle of a project in the Bahamas. I'm not in the Bahamas right now. I'm in Topanga, California, during this current pandemic and social distancing and lockdown. But we have been working in the Bahamas after Hurricane Dorian, and Benjamin the painter painted dozens of inspiring murals in the devastated island, Abaco, the Abaco Islands. And I worked in a shelter with kids, and actually in Nassau, Bahamas, all kids and families that have been evacuated from the hurricane. And we wrote the beginnings of a musical. So I'm still working on that. And these kids, there's a batch of songs that are kind of becoming a musical, and it written by kids and adults, like in the shelter in desperate moments, and I'm still interacting with all of them. So we're moving that project forward at the same time as we've been paused and the world is experiencing this pandemic, which is like a shared disaster. You know, with our time that we spend going to natural disasters, it's the whole world is going through an adversity right now. So many are, you know, a huge amount experiencing the adversity of this pandemic. And so for the Goodness Tour, usually we're, you know, pinpointing a certain place, but right now the whole world is going through this unified struggle, and we were trying to figure out, I was talking to Dana, I was like, okay, how can we get hazmat suits, and how can we go to the hospitals and start playing music for people that are fighting to survive through, you know, through the coronavirus, and to the doctors, to everyone. And as we talked about it, we kind of began to see, you know, that for now that road of physically going could potentially be actually a disturbance. We could be a part of transmitting just by moving and traveling. Even if we had hazmat suits, we could potentially be another carrier or conduit of the spread of the coronavirus. And so we came back to, you know, what we can do now from right here is a virtual Goodness Tour. So we've been working on the funding and the technology to be able to project into hospital rooms, ideally be able to interact, play songs, paint. So we're working on that. And then the first action we did, because we wanted to go to the doctors and nurses and be able to sing for them in person, but since we couldn't right now, we created a thank you song. And we put together this thank you song, and we gathered people from around the world, clips of people saying thank you. And we just wanted to provide this song as a boost and a thank you to all the frontline workers during this pandemic. And so that's what we're doing right now. And
Amazing.
the band Luc and the Lovingtons, I'm about to release my first song and our first song. It's more of a song that I've done, and I brought some of the Lovingtons in on it, but it's the first song I've released in 4 years. And it's going to be this May 31st, in 9 days.
Wow.
And
so now we got two songs that I would love to see which one you'd like to share. Can you either play the thank you song for us, or could you play this new song that you're going to release and share that? Are you open to playing one of those?
Yeah, I think I'll play the new song, because the thank you song is this beautiful duet, and it would be nice if Shia Luna were here. So I'll play the new song I'm about to release, which I think really fits with this interview too.
Perfect. Beautiful.
Okay, just gonna grab a little water.
Okay, through the magic of editing, or really just hitting the pause button, all of a sudden you appear with a guitar in your head.
With a guitar and hydrated.
Exactly.
All you did was you went click.
That's it.
If life could work like that, boom.
If I didn't say anything, no one would have known. They would have just thought, wow, this guy truly is magical. Look at that. So, okay, so now if you can tell us, first of all, what is the name of this song?
Yes, it's called Let Us Dream.
Let Us Dream. Okay.
Let Us Dream.
Let Us Dream.
Hear me, Lord, I need to sing. Ever since I was little, I was prone to dream. Was there too much space between my head and my feet?
'cause I had a little trouble keeping track of things. Where's your jacket? My dad would ask. I said, Dad, I don't know where I had it last. I'll get it back. Don't be mad, Dad. Let us dream, let us fly so high. Take those knots that made us cry. We untie them, yeah. Well, nowadays there's more balance in me. I've grown roots and wings simultaneously. I really feel I've made big strides to keep my feet on the ground while flying my kite. But sometimes people like their memory of you, yeah. Yet you can't live there 'cause you're blazing brand new. Let us dream, let us fly so high, yeah. Take those knots that made us cry. We untie them, yeah. We untie them, yeah. She picks herself up off of the floor. Every little movement is the greatest chore. Tries not to give up as she searches the drawers for the pen and paper she's looking for. Writes this message, hangs it up on the back of her bedroom door. Every day when she goes out, the sound of her voice reading it helps her out. And it says, I will not be afraid to take the steps I must today. Help me be brave to face the ones I must today. I will not be afraid to take the steps I must today. Help me be brave to face the ones I must today. Woo! Let us dream, let us fly so high. Yeah. Take those knots that made us cry. We untie them, yeah. We're aligned.
Yeah. Oh man, that is so good. So good. Thank you. Thank you. You're used to hearing like huge classes, just me in my living room, but picture this is hundreds of thousands, millions of people.
That's right.
For you. Look at that. You got clapping here going on.
Two claps.
Back, right?
Like you said on the quantitative, those two claps. That's it.
But that's what does it take, man? Like you said,
huge
you reach
right now.
one person.
Yeah.
Just one person. I love the line about growing roots and wings at the same time.
Yeah.
That's a good line right there, man. That's so good. That's really powerful.
You know, it's so cool that you mentioned that line, because remember how earlier in our conversation I talked about how I have this phenomenal friend, this great life friend, Benjamin Suarez, who has been a part of all of the almost the majority of the greatest endeavors that I've done. He's been a part of it, and I've been a part of his, and the weaving of our friendship. It's incredible. But he wrote that line.
Oh, look at that,
This,
man.
this is
Benjamin
the
is.
first song.
We're gonna have Benjamin will be like the part two of this conversation.
Yes.
So, wow.
This is
So,
the first song I think, yeah, that I have that Ben is a co-writer on this one, because I was working on this and talking about it every day, and I was trying to figure out the second verse, and he helped me with a lot of the second verse, and
that's amazing because like it's a beautiful song, and I'm just like, yo, man, this is my favorite line. You're like, yeah, I didn't write that one.
which is great, which I feel it's like left hand, right hand, Benjamin is like, we're reflections of each other, and
But even still, whether it's Benjamin, whether it's 100 people in Puerto Rico,
yeah,
whether it's some kids in a refugee camp, doesn't matter, right? When you can release that ownership and just be the steward
yes,
for the birthing of the creation of it, everything is possible.
that's right.
Wow, man. Well, dude, I'm so lit up right now, and I really appreciate you taking the time to get on and have this conversation, for us to dive in and talk about this. Um, I want to make sure that we mention how can people get a hold of you, how can they support, how can they with the virtual goodness tour, anything. What let us know.
Yes. So with the band and the music, it's Luc and the Lovingtons. Luc spelled Luc, the French style, and the Lovingtons, like loving a ton. So you can go to lucandthelovingtons.com, is our website, or Luc and the Lovingtons on Instagram, Facebook, and then also YouTube, Luc and the Lovingtons, and then the Goodness Tour, the same. If you go to thegoodnesstour.org, it will bring you to a lot of the work with the nonprofit work and music and art for people facing adversity. And the same there, you can go to Instagram, the Goodness Tour, and those would be the direct things I would say to
Amazing.
check out
We'll
and
put links.
become a part
down.
of our team, become a
Just
part
come
of
on
our
board. And I'm sure there's lots of ways that people can support.
yes.
Doesn't have to. They obviously can find ways to donate. But if there's connections, if there's sharing the music, if there's listening to the music and opening your heart, and then treating the people around you a little bit kinder, that's a
Yes.
great support. So many ways to get involved.
Yes, and I was just going to add in there on, supporting the Goodness Tour is right now has a fiscal sponsor, with a 501c3 status, and that's the Chatty Cooper Foundation. So people can donate to the Goodness Tour, tax deductible. That helps us continue to bring this service of music and art to people facing adversity. And maybe this will live. Obviously, this is going to live on this video, so they're also the Goodness Tour is also pending as its own 501c3. But right now, we're able to fully operate as a 501c3 under the Chatty Cooper Foundation.
Great. And if anybody were to go to the goodnesstour.org, they'd be able to.
Yes,
see.
exactly. It'll be right there, and that kind of helps clarify it. Yep.
Okay. Cool. Man, I'm so like, I don't want to bring like sadness into the space, but like I'm sad to end the conversation. I feel so good, man. It's great. I always love talking to you. You're such an inspiration. Personally, I mean, so humble. Um, Not to mention, just anytime we get to hear that silky smooth, velvety voice, is a nice thing as well. But really, just tapping into the story of like just a person who just said, you know what, I'm gonna follow my heart and see what I can do to be of service, and look at all the incredible things beyond the impact that have happened. It's such a model of. It doesn't mean you don't have to play guitar. Whatever it is, whatever your service is, whatever your gift is, whatever your light is, to shine that. So, on behalf of the world, thank you for shining your light, man.
Thank you, Eron. I'm taking that in fully, receiving, and and I just wanted to say you've had a great effect on my life since we became friends, and every single time we've met up and conversated, I've been filled with light and inspiration, and I remember you and I just sitting there buzzing in that cafe and
I know,
like
yeah.
in Venice, just feeling the whole kingdom of heaven,
I know,
like
yeah.
right here, right now. And
And we're like looking around, be like, does anybody else feel this? Like, what is happening right now?
yeah,
Yeah, and that's always possible. It's
yes,
possible at a cafe in Venice. It's possible at a shelter in New Orleans, at a refugee camp in Jordan, at an encampment of slave rescue in Ghana.
yeah.
If it's possible there, it's possible everywhere. Welcome to my house. As you said, this is it. Open it up. It's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Luke. I love you. I appreciate
Yes.
you.
Love you, brother.
I'm really excited to see what continues to unfold for you, for the Goodness Tour, for everything that you touch and comes out of this. So, thank you. All right, brother. This has been the Soultivation Conversation, the soul of music. And if you don't know now what is possible from music, and this man, we were so far beyond music, but even to bring it back, right? Even if it was just that, what is the power of music? And that was the impetus of this conversation. Let's talk about the power of music. And I guess with that, as far as it went outside of that, we bring it back. This conversation is a direct reflection of what is the power of music.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man. Well, I'm like stuttering. I don't want to end. I gotta go. I gotta go. All right, brother. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Conversation never ends. I always say to be continued.
That's it. To be continued. And we'll have Benjamin on for the continuation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, look out. That's going to be something.
Yeah. All right, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, brother. Peace.